Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Liberal White Dudes. I am Andrew.
I'm Jared.
I'm AJ.
And we are Liberal White Dudes. Today's episode is called Executive Orders. We're going to talk a little bit about Biden having signed more executive orders in his first week than any president in history and why that might be and what they're about and all that. But first, a little bit of recent news between the time that we last spoke and now. There is still, you gave me a number, AJ, of a number of Congress people who were like, green margarine should be out of Congress.
Yeah, it's upwards of just 50 House, just Dems. I don't even know how many GOP are vocal about her not belonging in Congress, but at least 50 House Dems are like, she should be expelled. I think all House members should be like, she should be expelled. That should be bipartisan.
Yeah.
She doesn't belong in Congress.
That number seems frighteningly low.
Yeah.
Not just all Dems, but yeah. I mean, I would think everyone except for other people who should be also out of Congress, who can self-identify by not signing on to expelling her. You know, her and Gogurt, like if you're not willing to sign on to that, like Kevin McCarthy or any other number of terrible Congress members, then yeah, they go too.
But she's a front runner. I mean, she is making a case like no other that she does not belong there. Like,
yeah, every day it's a new video. They dug up a video from when the shootings happened in Vegas, and where basically she says, you know, and she does it in a very conspiracy theory questioning type of way, like who stands to benefit from this? You know, it's a concert of people who are mostly conservatives, and you know, you think they're attacking the Second Amendment, like this is not just some loony firing down on a concert, but some sort of false flag,
deep state conspiracy
operation to weaken the Second Amendment. And you know, every time I hear her talk, I think there's nobody I'd like to take guns from more than somebody like her. Like you should be concerned that somebody's coming for your guns, because someone should definitely be coming for your guns.
Agreed. Yeah.
You shouldn't have guns. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Especially if you're like a loony bird like she is. There's a little bit, especially if there's like a layer of crazy there that just, you know, shouldn't be arming that. Shouldn't be arming that layer of crazy.
Thick layer of crazy there. That's like a meringue of crazy.
A viscous layer of crazy.
Giant layer of crazy on top of a pie.
Like green margarine layer of crazy.
Agreed.
Why is that nickname catching on across the country? You heard it here first, folks.
That's right. Green margarine.
So there's that. I'm hoping we're on some sort of countdown until she's gone. I guess we'll see. And I don't even care if they replace her with a Republican or whatever. You know, someone who can reasonably be a member of Congress. And
yeah, I get that there will be GOP Congress members that I'm not going to agree with. I understand that part of it. It's
that concept
isn't
like
lost
on me.
On that. I get that I'm not going to agree on everything a Republican Congressperson says, but she's ridiculous. Like,
and I
she's
guess that
dangerous
some of them are going to be pro-gun,
unqualified,
and some of them are going to be, you know, anti-women's rights and anti-women's healthcare, and you know,
and some are going to be
minorities. I get it.
Some are going to be undercover racist. I just don't expect so many to be blatant racists. Like, I definitely expect them to be undercover racists, but it's a little weird when she's berating her colleagues of color in the halls and not getting called out for that.
I'm not sure if that happened between last show and this, but Cori Bush moved her office away from.
I think it was between last show and this show.
Hers, because of the just not feeling safe. I mean, everybody there should feel safe.
My God,
You shouldn't feel unsafe around your fellow Congress people. Like that's a bad sign.
And again, any job I've ever had, and I wager any job either of you have ever had, you'd be fired already for any of the 100%. Nonsense that they've done. It's so weird. So hopefully we're on some sort of path. I don't know.
I mean, I've heard a lot of insider reports that she's going to get removed from a lot of committees. I'm like, that's great. Maybe remove her from office, though. I'm not that angry that she's on committees so much as I'm angry that she's a congresswoman. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
There should be
like,
some sort of standard.
yeah,
You know, there used to be, in the sense that you had to have some sort of knowledge of law and some sort of, you know,
credentials.
achievement. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could still be a racist. You know, you could still
Mhm.
be from the South. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could be an active
Yeah.
member of the KKK. We've had plenty of those in Congress.
Yeah.
But, you know, not just a complete idiot, seditionist piece of crap.
Mhm.
Yeah, it seems like you probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, so Dodger Stadium was being used as a vaccine site in LA, and there were
Mhm.
lines of cars and everybody, you know, driving up to get their vaccine. And they were shut down for an hour because of anti-vaxxer protesters
Yep. In the middle of a pandemic,
in the middle of a pandemic.
where thousands of Americans are dying every day, they're protesting the vaccinations.
Yeah. Protesting, trying to end the pandemic.
Yeah, people are so
Yep.
dumb.
I mean, you know, we don't advocate violence on this show.
Right, not normally.
You're
I
just a
think I
good
know where you're
lead-in.
going. We're just gonna stop right there.
Or did I just?
Or did I just? Yeah, I mean, it's just unfathomable to me, the level of, like, the depth to, like, just this well of stupid that exists.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't want the vaccine. Fine.
Yeah,
Don't
but my God.
get it. You
Yeah.
know? You know, the idea that you show up to a place where they are vaccinating people and stop them from doing that. Yeah, the level of arrogance and audacity and stupid, just all of those.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things the last 4 years have taught us, is that they have been emboldened. The ignorant, the stupid, they have been emboldened to be confident.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They used to say.
Well, you've made a.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you made the point on this show before how it's so easy to be on that side because they don't ever feel the need to answer for what they're saying or take responsibility for what transpires or face any of the facts that are presented to them. They literally get to live in blissful, blatant ignorance and just say whatever bullshit they feel like
Yeah.
saying. And
It's been validated as a
yeah.
counterpoint. I feel this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not a valid counterpoint. There's a lot of evidence. The reason you don't get measles anymore, the reason you don't get polio, the reason you don't get any number of, you know, smallpox eradicated, or at least, you know, it's cordoned off to certain segments of the world diseases, is because of vaccines. Saying, well, I think they're not safe, and having that be a fairness doctrine counterpoint.
Yeah, like that makes it a valid argument. that
Yeah.
you know, soccer mom who lives in the hills can decide that vaccines aren't safe.
Yeah.
After all of the, you know, plurality of data that disagrees with you. It's
well,
like,
you know,
and provide that as like a counterpoint. Like that makes sense.
well, that's not to beat a sad, dead, orange giant horse, but came out of an administration that essentially completely validated that, because we had a commander-in-chief that was entirely unqualified, refused to listen to scientists, refused to believe facts presented to him, didn't really read ever. I mean, that's a thing. That's like, that should be part of it. Like, of all the things you complain about Trump, he didn't read at all.
They brought him a security briefing, and in that first week, and he was like, what do you want me to do with this? He doesn't have any pictures. It seems like more than a couple of sentences. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Bullet points.
This. Yeah.
So
he was like, I don't want this every day.
4 years.
Yeah. I don't want this every day, and you're going to have to just tell me what it says. And it's just like, and his claim was always like too busy, you know?
Oh,
I gotta watch
I know.
my Fox programming. I gotta
too busy golfing.
Read policies.
You have that guy as president, and then that's why, you know, regular Bob at the grocery store feels like he's allowed to be an ignorant asshole, and no one gets to tell him otherwise, because the president gets to be an ignorant asshole. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
The standard is just the bars on the ground, man. And that includes people in office.
Yeah. I mean,
Green margarine.
yeah, and they're bubbling up, and it's like these are the same people who would have shame about their ignorance in high school, like wouldn't raise their hand to answer a question
Right.
with just how they felt about it,
Mhm.
because they didn't read the material, they don't know the answer. It's not like, you're sitting in math class and they're like, x plus y equals 7, where x equals 3, and they're like, what does y equal? And then you raise your hand and you're like, I feel like it might be 7. And they're like, yeah. Any counterpoints to that?
It's a solid opinion on the matter. It seems like your input is valuable.
Somebody in the comments should probably tell us that it's 4. Speaking
I have
of
the touch.
normal Bob at the grocery store, let's talk about the most vanilla president of our time, President Joe Biden.
That's right.
He signed more executive orders than any president in their first week in history, and part of that is, if you look at them and go through what he's done, is because there's just so much to do. The last guy wasn't really doing his job, and he wasn't doing it well.
Yeah.
So
I think it speaks more to the person he just took the job over from than it actually speaks to Biden's character as a president. It's not like Biden's a super go-getter. I mean, I'm sure he has aspirations to be, but a lot of this is just damage control at this point.
From day one, they needed a lot of things reversed or fixed, or even just started. Kick something off in the arena of governance. So that maybe the government is doing something about.
Just start the machine again, rev the engine,
pull
the string a couple of times.
Yeah, the American lawnmower.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had a president who ignored the coronavirus pandemic the entire time it went on, and then spent his last couple weeks in office doing. I mean, if you thought he did nothing the first 3.5 years, just wait until you see what Trump does the last 4 weeks in office, because it's less than nothing.
Yeah. And some of this stuff wasn't even just the nothing stuff. There was so many times where the news ran so quickly that it's like he's done something horrible, but then he tweets that he's firing Rex Tillerson, and so the entire news cycle is about firing the Secretary of State and what does that mean and who's going to replace him and all that kind of stuff. But you missed the thing where he hobbled the Affordable Care Act, or implemented a ban on transgender people in the military, or just any number of god awful horrible things.
They just don't need to happen, and then he undercuts it with something dumb and extra or separate.
Yeah. So let's roll through some of these executive orders. 42 executive actions thus far, which is a lot. Couple related to healthcare, basically strengthening Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. He was reopening enrollment for those programs, so that's good. Biden's not a Medicare for all guy, but maybe with some sort of mandate in the midterms, maybe we can get to that.
Some nearby or some adjacent.
Yeah. I know that with taking over the House and taking over the Senate and the presidency, some people see that as a mandate, that Democrats should be doing stuff. But I do feel like the election of Biden is kind of like, hey, don't do too much stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like,
I get that.
Part of it is like, hey, let's do a lot of these liberal initiatives, but maybe in a kind of old white guy kind of way.
In a slow old white guy kind of way.
In the slowest, most
blandest
centrist way possible.
He also signed a memorandum on protecting women's health at home and abroad. So this is basically just undoing something that flip-flops every Republican and Democratic presidency as to whether or not certain organizations that also happen to perform abortions are funded by us or given money by us. He just said we're going to give them money again.
Just goes back and forth on that, depending on which side is president,
depending on who's sitting in office.
he signed us back into the Paris Climate Accord, and then various other things related to the environment that had been, like emissions reductions targets. Trying to save the earth, basically. So there was a handful of those types of things.
I mean, hey, just shoot about the climate,
Yeah.
Just taking regular steps towards acknowledging that it's a problem. Maybe actually having a president who acknowledges it's a thing.
Yeah.
So
he did mention they're going to replace all federal vehicles with electric vehicles. I don't know how fast that's going to move, but that's something.
Right.
I mean, right now it's not the most efficient thing, right? It costs a lot of carbon to make those cars. It costs a lot of carbon to make the electricity that charges those cars. So we're still kind of a ways from that being a real green solution. But
or practical solution,
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping this also leads to some sort of infrastructure bills where you can drive cross country in an electric car, where an electric car can be something that you could stop at a station, charge it in a reasonable amount of time, enough time for you to get your trail mix and your beverage, and then hop back in it and continue driving to Vegas for the dozens LWD March.
Damn right.
Like, hopefully there'll be infrastructure bills related to that.
Agreed.
Jared, why don't you tell us a little bit about the executive orders related to equity?
You know what? I will. There was one on advancing racial equality and underserved communities. So basically, it was just making sure that agencies were thinking about racial equity when, doing things. Like really just like, hey guys, make sure you do this. It seems diversity. like a bare minimum. Yeah, it seems like such a bare minimum thing. But still had to do that.
Well, yeah, Trump had canceled all diversity and what's the other word I'm looking for? It's gone. But sensitivity training.
Training and all that.
He was like, basically, these trainings teach you to hate America, and it's like, or make you feel guilty for being a white person. It's like, it's easy. I mean, for me, I don't know, to listen to those types of trainings, hear that horrible things were done in the past, hear that those things were done exclusively by white people, and not be like, I'm responsible for that.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for making it better. I'm responsible for fighting against the systems that were created during that time. But you don't have to go, oh, America's a terrible place because, Columbus didn't actually discover it. Or
and I'm personally responsible for like slavery. It's like, no, not what this is about. It's not, and that's not, no.
So everybody should get that training. You should know what those things are and how to be sensitive to racial problems.
Just imagine being the guy in the meeting at your job who's like, I mean, do we really need this, guys? I mean, it just makes me feel really guilty for being a white dude. Like,
it's
I can't even imagine in any meeting I've ever been in raising my hand and saying that. Or just being like, I am out. This training is garbage. I feel like it's just attacking me as a white male. So
I'm proud to be an American. So I'm out. Like, you're out of
Second Amendment.
Like,
what a weird. Yeah. Also, like when we're like, hey, we need you to be more, sensitive of minorities, and you're like, I'm an American. It's like, well, hold on. That seems like a bad thing. That comparison there. Bad counterpoint. Another one they did was for is just the same sort of thing, but gender identity or sexual orientation, prevent workplace discrimination in that way. And then there was one that basically just kind of acknowledged that that the coronavirus pandemic has really affected Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders because people are being racist. So basically, it was just like, hey, that sucks. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because the fact that that's a thing at all is kind of horrendous. That we're bagging on Asian Americans for Lord knows what.
I mean, again, this may or may not be related to Trump calling it the China virus. It's hard to know if it's related.
It's hard to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's to say? Who's to say?
It's hard to know if racist Americans hearing their racist president make racist remarks made them a little more racist.
Yeah, it's just hard to know. I mean, again,
it's hard to know what the
we like
effect
to,
is.
You can let us know in the chat if you have figured it out. It's just hard to know.
It's impossible for us to know.
I guess we'll never know if there was a connection.
We may never know.
We may never know. He's out of office. Why keep asking?
Exactly.
We just need to move on, guys.
Unity.
Come on.
Unity.
Direction, I say unity.
Which is a great Rick and Morty episode, by the way. The Unity episode. So.
It really is. Highly recommended.
Yeah. And then they did a passed executive order reforming the incarceration system to sort of get rid of the use of privately operated prisons and stuff.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Which is nuts. That's a really
is that ever
solid step forward. Yeah. I think we touched on that a little bit. The privatized prisons things last time around.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then this one says redressing our nation's and the federal government's history of discriminatory housing practices and policies. So basically just trying to make sure that they comply with the Fair Housing Act. That's literally all it is. It's like, hey, make sure we do the thing we said we would do.
Somebody nudge Ben Carson, tell him he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Poke him with a stick, tell him to take his table and leave.
Is he still there? I mean, he could very well still be there somewhere.
He could still be there. He's still in the building.
This one says it's a memorandum on tribal consultation and strengthening nation-to-nation relationships. It just means that they want federal agencies to just kind of engage with tribal governments and consult with them, and be in conversations with tribal nations, and because
and then the big one,
maybe we should, and then enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform. So just kind of going back on that whole transgender ban on the military.
Damn right.
Because what?
Yeah, this is just a dumb, stupid thing.
Yeah,
but he tweeted. That's another one of those where he used Twitter for presidential policy. I'm still beside myself.
Transgender Americans.
Yeah, on how that all went. There just wasn't even enough focus on what was happening. Not even just like, not just what was happening, but how it was happening. He was tweeting.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough focus on the fact that he fired people via Twitter.
Yeah.
That's also insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Can you imagine working a job where every morning you had to get up and check Twitter to see if your boss got pissed off enough at you sometime during the night to fire you in public via Twitter? Like, because that was everyone's life for a while in the administration, was just like, I was going to log in and see if he fired me last night because CNN ran a story where I might have said something that he didn't agree with. So I might be fired.
Yeah. Trump fired me on the shitter at 3 a.m. And all I got was his lousy t-shirt. I don't know.
Yeah.
Souvenir shop for people that Trump fired, since
that'd actually be a great
t-shirt. Yeah, we should send out those. I mean, there's plenty of people who could get one. So those are the equity ones. And again, those are they're executive orders, and it's weird that any of them had to be said. Really, a lot of them are just like, hey, let's treat people like Americans who are in America.
Yeah, let's just treat people equally with respect.
Sense.
That was all. Yeah, that was it.
Just with genuine respect and human decency.
Yeah.
Amazing that has to be policy.
Oof.
Yeah.
There's another sort of chunk of executive orders that were related to the economy, and sort of just laying a foundation for a $15 minimum wage. We did an entire episode about that. And again, laying the foundation for, not actually creating one. So
we're several years out on that apparently.
Yeah,
long-term plan. Taking the long view.
COVID-19 economic relief, pausing student loan payments, extending eviction and foreclosure moratoriums. So basically, even the economy ones are still COVID-19 pandemic related. And as no president in our lifetime has faced this, the idea that you should criticize what he's doing to try and do something related to the pandemic is kind of silly.
Yeah. It's
We're
amazing to
kicking
see
people
all the
out.
Trump supporters that are just so anti anything Biden wants to do when it's just like, look, not only are we way past the election, we're way past inauguration day at this point, but he's, like you said, at every turn, all he's trying to do is fix this issue, is stop the bleeding. And it's just like, to still get shit from people when you're
Yeah.
just trying to make the most, you know, elementary steps towards getting this under control, to face that kind of backlash. I mean, well, the anti-vaxxer protests at Dodger Stadium, for example, it's just like, we're just barely trying to get this under control. We're just getting the vaccine rolled out.
Yeah.
And
I know
there are
it
people
seems like the
protesting the
pandemic
vaccine.
has been like going on forever and that we
Yeah.
haven't done anything to stop it. And so maybe, you know, I saw a video of people who were just, I mean, they're packed restaurants in Burbank today, with the,
Yep.
you know, reopening of these things, and people just sitting maskless close together
Like,
in the same county where, and we can't stress this enough, they raised the air quality, they lowered the air quality standards so that they could run the crematoriums more often. And they're sitting there eating in an open air space. So you're smacking your food, you're blowing out, you know, I mean, and inhaling in whatever it is. Like, you know, you get some ash on your food and you're like, ah, look, that was somebody's, you know, loved one. They just
Jesus.
wipe that off of there before
Yeah.
I eat my
Yeah.
food because I'm such an entitled piece of crap. You know, I saw some people saying, you know, people are sick of not being able to do this. And it's like,
My God.
yeah,
Oh
of
my
course
goodness.
you are. We all are. But every single one of you that gets it today, you know, that's another person who can spread it to somebody else, who can spread it to somebody else. That's
Yeah.
why we are where we are.
Yeah.
Jesus. And no,
It's
I don't
people like
want
you.
your restaurant to fail. I don't. I mean, there's a lot of people in my community where, yes, I want their restaurant to fail. That's more of a
Right. Yeah.
That's more of a
personal
personal thing.
hatred
That's
of
not
my
across the
community.
board.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But
by and large, no, of course we don't want small businesses to fail. We want the
No.
government to step in and help where they can to keep them afloat while we get this under control. That's what we want.
Yeah, I
I'm
wonder
so tired
if
of people thinking that people that are pro shutdown and pro getting this under control are somehow simultaneously anti small business. Like those,
Yeah.
like you have
No,
to be
we're
one or
just
the.
also
It's like
pro small business bailout. That's
Yeah.
really what,
exactly.
you know.
it should have been part of every single stimulus thus far. Hey, we're telling
Agreed.
you have to close your business. You cannot be a gym right now. But
Right.
here's, you know, your rent. And here's
Yeah.
your, you know, we'll keep you open until it's safe for you to actually open again. So that maybe we get a handle on this. And none of that was done. I mean, it's just been so, you know, because you can't really tell people, hey, close your business. Nobody's allowed to come there because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We're not going to help you keep it open. Drain your savings and then still lose your business because we have no idea how long this is going to go on.
Yeah.
Your life's work is now right in the trash through no fault of your own because of a pandemic. I mean, that to me sounds like the kind of America that I don't want to live in. And it's like the same people who are like, don't rat out your neighbors for parties are saying they should be able to open their businesses. And it's like, you're the reason.
You're the reason this still happens. You're the reason this is still going on. It's you. It's
Yeah.
you. It's you.
Take a good hard look at the man in the glass.
Yeah.
All right, COVID-19. So there's a ton of executive orders related to that. AJ?
Yeah. So of the 42 executive orders that President Biden has signed, 15 are COVID-19 related. A lot of them kind of are similar to the equity ones. They're kind of like, yeah, I can't believe that wasn't already a thing. Or that he's having to go back and reverse those. Obviously reinstated some travel restrictions from Brazil and UK and Ireland, South Africa, places like that. The other really big one is rejoining the World Health Organization. That's one that I was like, yeah, weird that we backed out of that.
Yeah.
So...
And if we'd have been fully involved with the World Health Organization from the get, and we had teams in China, I mean, you know, you're talking about months that we lost learning what the virus was, how it spread, possible, you know, working on a vaccine, all that kind of stuff. Just just lost because of the incompetence and arrogance and god awful people in that last administration.
My God, yes. So, and then the rest are really just a collection of what you'd expect. Ways to help back up local and state agencies to roll out more vaccines, create more vaccine sites. And his big thing that he's touted a lot is the 100-day mask challenge. Again, a weird thing to have to do, but to try and challenge the federal employees to please wear their masks is a little fucking ridiculous. They should be doing it, but that was also an executive order. So,
yeah, I love that some of them are like executive order on ensuring a data-driven response to COVID-19 and future high-consequence public health threats.
Right,
and then one of them's create more vaccination sites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like who does the titling?
As president, I'm going to sign this executive order to do the thing we should have already been doing all along.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. So many of these had to be done already. But again, it's like we talked about in the previous episode. I mean, there was no plan.
Yeah.
Biden took office. There was nothing in place. Trump spent the last several weeks in office, as we all could watch, doing nothing, literally nothing. He had plenty of time to host the My Pillow guy in the Oval Office, but apparently didn't have time to address COVID-19.
What's worse than him doing nothing? He was doing like more than nothing in the sense that he was doing things that would actively harm the progress by like blocking the Biden administration from being able to see data before coming into office, and I mean any number of things. It's just
you're right. Yeah, so it's not like he did nothing. He
just actively moved the goalposts farther away.
Yeah, he called the Secretary of State of Georgia to find votes. I mean, he did spend time drumming up nonsense about the election. Just couldn't be bothered to actually take care of the country or do his job as president. That part was.
No.
And of course, had a few golf trips peppered in there in the last year.
Sure.
I mean, got to do that.
Yeah.
Got to pepper those in.
Yeah. I mean, instead of attending the however many summit on climate change,
could just go
golfing. Go golfing. Yeah, the heads of state for all those countries are going to be there on that call talking about this important thing for the world. But the United States is going to be not represented, and our elected president is going to be golfing. I mean, if you had told me that, like, you know, there's so many things that have happened over the course of this where it would be an unbelievable screenplay. If you wrote that story and you handed it to a producer, they'd be like, we kind of have to change this part because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to buy that.
And then when you know, I was thinking about that recently too. I was thinking about how one day I'm going to talk to my grandkids about Trump, hopefully, and they're going to be like, there's no fucking way. And I'll be like, yeah, I am telling you, that's exactly what he said.
I was listening. Word for word what he said.
It's word for word verbatim what he said.
The word for
to
word.
me, it's amazing. You look at all these things like that, and then it's just sickening to watch like one of those like shitty like Lou Dobbs interviews where he's just like sucking his dick the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just like, you see that one where he like leans in, he's just like, may I say, I think you're the most respected president in the history of the world. And he's like, yes, I believe that. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like
you're lying to this man.
Oh my!
You're lying to this man about being the most respected.
It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah. Resuming executive orders. So there's a bunch on immigration. You know, just basically deciding not to put kids in cages and undermining the Trump's hatred of immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
It was all very specific to the southern border, from what I understand.
Strange how that works. Strange how that works. That's what we're worried about.
Concerned about
worried about Canadians for some reason.
Western or Canadian border.
I wonder where that comes
Interesting,
from.
right?
It's probably related. He did sign one on ethics, where basically he's having people sign an ethics pledge, saying that they're not here to just enrich themselves via the government. Again, one of those things where shouldn't have to have that.
Probably shouldn't have to have that.
Right. But I think that would be built into the job application of executive branch appointee.
Yeah.
It seems like.
But he fired
I
so
mean,
many, inspector generals, and he fired. Are they
Yeah.
inspector generals? Or are they inspectors general?
Don't
correct us.
With the attorney general, you say
Right.
attorneys general.
Yeah.
It is inspectors general. Yes.
Ah, all right. Nobody correct us. We got it right.
Nobody
Got it
corrects
right,
me. Found it.
The inspectors
Anyway,
general.
Yeah, he fired a bunch of them. He's disbanded a bunch of ethics watchdog groups, and we're going to be finding out for years and years to come the nonsense of this past 4 years.
There were people that were
Yeah.
complaining too. They were like, imagine being so petty that you have to fire people that don't agree with you when you get into office. It's like, no, that's not really what we're doing, actually. That's not,
Yeah.
it's not just
let
firing
people
people that
go who
disagree
are
with us.
undermining America.
Yeah, we're letting people go that are insurrectionists. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Bad for the country.
Yeah, and it's like, please, with that shit, how many no men did Trump keep around? Like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
gonna sit there and try and call that kettle black. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
high
like,
horsing right
you're
now.
talking about it. Yeah, if there was ever an administration that surrounded himself with people and only people that agreed with them,
And a
was
revolving
Trump.
door of
And
cabinet
yeah.
members and chiefs of staff. Or is it chief of staffs?
Chief of staffs.
I think it's chief
I
of
am the
staff.
chief of staffs.
The White House chief of staffs.
Chiefs of staff.
I also minor in walking sticks.
I'm not good at
Staff.
plurals tonight, apparently. What's the
Her
plural of
staff, everybody's
chiefs?
staff.
Is it chiefs? Like it's like knife to knives. It's
Yeah.
chiefs
of staff.
of staff.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
But
a
yeah,
revolving
just a
door.
revolving door. Like, one strike, you're out, policy. And it's just like, so then to turn around and be like, oh, you're gonna fire people just because they don't agree with your agenda. It's like, yeah,
I mean,
because this agenda is a legit one, and that one was a piece of shit.
yeah.
And that
Also,
one
a
is
lot of
like-
morons.
Direction.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of morons that need to go, who
Yeah.
were just friendly to Trump, and that's why
was
they're
gonna say,
in government. They don't belong there.
Appointees, yeah, just all those special counsel. I never heard that word so much until Trump's presidency.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't pay too much attention to a lot of administrations pre George W. Bush because I was a kid, but I have never heard special counsel to the president. It's like every fucking dude who ever said Trump was great on live television somehow got a job as special counsel to the president.
I
It's
think
just
every
like,
president
Jesus.
before him had just regular counsels.
Right.
They were just counsels.
Yeah, they were regular counsels. These
But
are
he
special
had
counsels.
special counsels of the beautiful,
Yeah.
like they've never
Yeah.
counseled
Right.
before.
And they had to be special because they didn't have any qualifications and were not
Yeah.
in any way qualified to be counsel to the highest office in the land. But because they were his buddy and they told him the things he wanted to hear and they had money and blah, 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 now they're special counsel to the president.
Speaking of crazy special counsels, Rudy Giuliani went on Steve Bannon's podcast, and I recommend
Yeah.
listening to neither of those gentlemen ever. But
Right.
Giuliani was like not only blaming Antifa for the insurrection, which is obviously ludicrous. There's video, there's audio, they all
There's
went
no
back home
evidence
and
that
was
it was
like,
Antifa.
look at me. Ooh, I'm a Trump supporter. Second Amendment.
Yep.
Capital.
Yeah.
It's a revolution. But
Push
he
me down
also
and mates me.
decided to throw the Lincoln Project into the mix. He was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, they were there too.
And then
and-
name some phantom person. And
Yeah.
then even Steve Bannon actually pressed him for it. He's like,
yeah.
who's the person? And he's like, well, I can't say. And it's like,
Mm,
yeah, that's.
yeah.
yeah.
And Bannon was like, that sounds kind of dumb what you're saying. He's like, it is.
I know. But it's like when you spout too much bullshit for Steve Bannon, like Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Bannon goes, you're off the rails, man. Maybe it's
Yeah.
time to check your
You've gotten way
crazy
off
meter.
message.
Yeah. So one more thing, one more EO here. Modernizing regulatory review. I don't know what that means. It's like telling the
Modernized regulatory.
Office of
Trump's
Management and Budget
regulatory
Director
approval
to develop
process.
recommendations to modernize regulatory review and undergoes Trump's regulatory approval process.
undoes Trump's regulatory approval process.
Undoes,
So
that's
basically-
why.
So it's basically revamping.
Yeah, like he has to with pretty much everything.
Right.
Because no doubt his regulatory process was, what, you need my signature on this? Let's call some cameras in and I can do my thing that I
Right.
do. And then, I haven't seen, has Biden done this yet? I haven't,
Look what I did.
has he?
I don't know.
He signed
I don't
42 of these things. Have you seen him
Look at my cool signature.
do one of these yet?
He's got to do this one.
Yeah, exactly.
There it is. That's the first day of him as I'm being president.
Yeah, look at me presidenting. Do you see my paperwork here? Oh goodness.
So that's an overview of the executive orders that he signed. Nothing terribly radical. A bunch of things that were just undoing, garbage from the previous administration. Things that
And a lot of it was like symbolic in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
where it's just like, hey, we don't, we're not cool with racism. By the
Well,
way.
and yeah, a bunch of things that you would have assumed would have already been in place. Like, I would never have expected an incoming president to have to rejoin the World Health Organization, rejoin the Paris Climate Accord, which, according to Ted Cruz, only benefits the people of Paris.
yeah. What an idiot.
I'm not gonna let him forget that. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I am not a politician. I don't get paid to do anything remotely related to what his job entails, and I even knew that. I mean, come on.
I mean,
I don't get that.
You are a co-host of a wildly popular politics
That's
podcast.
true.
So it's not like you're
That's true.
nobody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
you're also
Appreciate
not a senator.
Yeah, not a
Right.
literal senator who ran for
Um,
president.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
oof.
mean, a lot of these just seemed like things that should have already been in place. So yeah, nothing flashy, more just common sense. But
Yeah.
it's really just amazing because of the time we live in that, again, a president like Joe Biden is not known for his, revving engine of,
Yeah.
of energy. Had a lot to do on day one.
Yeah.
So
And,
that counts for that.
like at least half of them are pandemic related. So in that respect, there's a lot to be done there. It's one of our major
There's probably-
crises.
there's probably only one
Crises?
president that would have.
Everyone
Yeah,
else
yeah,
sounds
we're all
wrong to
saying
me
it.
at this point.
Yeah.
There's probably only one president that would have come in and not done any of that, and that's Trump.
Yeah.
Who would have come in a situation that Biden has just come into and been like, something needs to be done yesterday.
And he'd be signing an executive order related to his Valentine's Day party.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Or something against social media for doing something, or
Yeah.
TikTok, or who knows.
All right. So that's Biden's executive orders that he's signed. They're basically directives to people to do the things of government. So maybe we'll have a functioning government by summer or something.
Be the government.
Yeah.
And we could do the Dozens Liberal White Dudes March.
Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing you all at the Dozens LWD March in Vegas this summer. We still have not set a date because all three of us
COVID.
have to get juice in our arm before that's a reality. But we will do this thing. We are here at 6 p.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube so that you know that we're going live, or you could follow us on Twitter, which wouldn't tell you that we were going live. And then you could also like us over on Facebook, another place where you wouldn't know that we were going live. I do want to drop a quick apology to AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
She was going to drop in and apologize for running a show against ours on Thursday, but we just ran out of time. So, maybe next time we'll just keep the spot open. Appreciate all you out there. Have a good night.